1/5 or whatever, but glad you guys are here. We're really happy to have Kate here with us also, and we're going to get going. There's a lot of stuff to cover and not a lot of time, so this is awesome because you get to ask all the questions and tell me when I'm going off astray and everything else. Good morning. What's your name?
My name is Evan.
Evan, nice to meet you. I'm Rob.
Likewise.
Thanks for being here. Okay. We have a range of coaching here. You know, I know Percy's coaching younger kids. Reese is coaching younger kids. Actually, Percy's in high school. Reese, you're coaching younger than that. 6, 7. Some of you are coaching collegiate level. There's a whole range. We're going to talk about passing and spiking, and I promise you that everything we're talking about will apply and you'll be able to use with your age group. I do this with little kids. I coached 12 and under for a while when my daughter was 9 and wanted to play volleyball. We started a little club. We added some 12 and under teams, and I coached that for a while. And I've coached with our national teams, and I know what Karch does with our national teams. And they do this. It's really, sound fundamentals. It's so important. If you were to go talk to, the best hockey coach or Greg Popovich in basketball or whoever, they stress fundamentals all the time. So we're going to start with really basic stuff, and it's really good stuff too, okay? Kate, show us your platform. Come on out here. Be a model for us. Just show us your platform. Put your hands together. Okay, I like it a lot. So we're going to start with this. We call this wrists and hands, and I'm going to show exactly how I like it, which looks really close here, but instead of curling your fingers under, so everyone do this for me. Set your book down for a second. Just put your hands out, put one set of fingers over the top, cover the bottom set of fingers, doesn't matter which hand's on top, and put your thumbs down, make your thumbs twins. Okay, make them twins. So this is really similar to what Kate was doing, but it's even a little bit flatter, and I like that. This is called wrists. So another way to do that is just wrists right here, and then put your hands together like that. The reason I like this, thank you, Kate. The reason I like this is because you can grip really well. If you pay attention to your kids, oftentimes when they pass a ball, especially when that's hit kind of hard, or they're digging a ball, their platform breaks apart, and that is bad. Even if it happens after, it's not good if their platform's busting up. So this enables them to get a really good grip. If you're kind of curled like that, with your thumbs on top, it's not as good. You cannot press your thumbs down and these fingers on the bottom to really grip well. The other thing about this, it's even more practical really, is that it's flat. And even Kate, when she showed me her initial platform, this was nice and flat. No matter how much we want to pass here, this is your sweet spot, between your forearms and your wrists. You don't want to pass up here, that's too high. You don't want to pass on your wrists, you want to pass right in between. And no matter how much we want to pass there, inevitably, there are times when it's going to go off our hands because you've got to just reach, and we want to reach in with 2 as much as possible. And so if that's flat, good things are going to happen. If it's bumpy or uneven, bad things are going to happen. Unpredictable things are going to happen, and we don't want that. Okay, so we like this nice, flat surface right there. Good morning, Willem. Good morning. All right, hey, come on in. Yes, Mark. Yeah.
So somebody that does it like Kate, hand in hand.
Put your hands together just like you usually do. Yeah, she kind of opened, let's look inside there and see all the people. Remember that? Here's the church. Okay. So anyway, this hand's kind of curved right there. On the surface, it still looks pretty good, but do it the way I showed you. See how that surface is bigger? So anyway, Mark.
Yes. So my question is, have you made an athlete change after high school, or starting 18, 19, 20, and made them change from this to this, which, habit is so hard to break.
It is, but it's not a reflex thing. Like hitting arm is a reflex thing. I see the ball and have this kind of reflex, that I have this habit, this motor program. Motor programs are hard to change when they've been there for a long time. This is not a motor program. I changed it in college on my own, because when I did this, just because no one told me otherwise, and I did this in high school, and I looked at some of the guys who were passing better than me. I went to BYU when it was a club team, and I looked, and they were like this, and I was like, I'm going to try that. It felt uncomfortable for about 5 minutes, but because it's not a motor program, it's not that hard to change. You just have to lay down the law. You just have to say, no, you're doing it this way from now on. So, I don't know what you're going to do after this clinic, but from now on, you're doing this. All right, here we go. Okay.
The reason I asked this is Kate's going to come play for me.
Wrists and hands together. You're going to let me know then, Mark, if she changes. Wrists and hands together. Good. So, when we're doing this, and even at the beginning of your season, I don't care what level you are, if you're in college, you're going to make sure that we are doing this right. And I will even tell them, put your wrists and hands together. I'm not going to toss until I like what I see. No, keep them together. Okay? Don't break them apart. You're going to hold them together. Hold them together. I'm going to throw the ball right to you. Now you have to move around. Okay? So, wrists and hands. It's really important. It matters. It matters. Little things matter. And another way to say that, we often say, there are no little things. Because a bunch of little things add up to big things. So little things matter. So wrists and hands are important. Okay? And then the other one is straight and simple. So let's watch Kate pass some more. Okay. It's good. Straight and simple. The straight part, of course, is the platform. Needs to be straight. Simple is the movement. Kate's movement is good. A lot of younger kids that you're working with, toss the ball to me, Kate, will do this. And I'm exaggerating a little bit, but they'll start out here, and then they'll go down, and then up. And that's not good. You can get away with it right now when the ball is really slow. There are tons of things I can do, you know. You can do all kinds of weird things and pass the ball. But if I have this habit of doing this, and then all of a sudden someone hits the ball hard at me, I'm not going to be ready. Okay? And unless you're really observant, you won't know why. So why are you digging the ball over the net? Come on, keep it on our side of the net. And if you pay attention, many of them are doing this, and then it's too late. Because the ball's come and my platform's here instead of here. Okay, so simple is really important. So, Kate, I'm going to make a little correction with you. As soon as before your hands come together, I want your arms straight. So, I don't want like this and then this. I want that. Okay? Here we go. Straight arms. Here. Before, during, and after, your platform's going to be straight. And even now, we could, with the athlete, say, I want you to put your platform together early, and I want it straight down to the ground. Okay? Good. Pointing straight down there, and then you're going to pass this. Keep your body nice and quiet. Good. Because if they start like this, inevitably, they will have to do that to be able to put enough on the ball. Or they're going to start doing this, and we do not want that. It's all about their platform. Mark said that yesterday when he was talking about defense. It's the platform that matters. I like what he said about, we don't want a line digger standing like this. That's really not very smart. The idea is right. We want the ball going into the court, so coaches think that if they stand like this, they're more likely to get into the court instead of that way. It doesn't change it, because the ball doesn't respond to my feet and my hips. It only responds to my platform. So I'm digging down the line and I'm here, and I just learned to do this with my platform. And my platform tells the ball where to go. Okay? Which is our next key. Feel free, any questions at any time, please fire away. So straight and simple. So we'll just review that right now. So you want them, put your platform together, okay, point it straight down to the ground. So I want them starting like this. That's how you initially correct that little bob. Is just have them start with their platform straight down. And then it only goes in one direction. Now start with your platform out like this and pass it in. She has to go down. Otherwise she's just going to be doing this, and it's not going to work. Okay? Thank you. So, face ball, angle, platform. Can I have someone come out and just help us for a second here? Be a target? Kevin, you want to? Or Mark? Come on out, Mark. Mark Scholar wins.
Big target. Big target.
You got a CPAP, I don't, so you can stand up there. Or am I going?
Actually, we'll do this out of the court. Hey, will you stand in here?
Yeah, it's
Stand in here,
You want me in your target spot or you want me in Nick's target spot?
I want you in my target spot. Of course. My target spot's right. So I'm going to just toss the balls past the target. Okay? Remember, straight and simple. Good. Again. Okay. Good. So key number 3 is face the ball, angle your platform. And the way we're going to do that is by having Kate even more drop her right shoulder. Her platform starts up here and ends at her fingers. And so in order to get the ball to go that way, you're going to face the ball, wherever the serve is coming from. And you're going to tilt, okay? Your platform is going to tell the ball to go over there. Right. So you're doing great. I just want you to drop that shoulder even more so it gets over here. Okay? Good. You see that? Let's do it again. Happen kind of fast. Good. And so what we'll do is we'll get players, kids, in a triangle. Mark, come off the net a little bit just so we're not so close. And we're all going to just pass to our right. Okay, I'm going to toss the ball, you're going to pass to Mark. He's going to pass to you, you're going to pass to you. And we'll emphasize, face the ball, angle your platform. And so I never have to face anywhere but right at Mark if we're doing this correctly. I don't have to turn and face my target. My platform tells the ball where to go. That concept is really, really important. They're all important, but that one is so critical to their development as a passer. They need to understand that it's all about their platform. And so we say the platform tells the ball where to go. And John Kessel, for little kids, he'll draw eyes on their platform right there somewhere, and he'll say those eyes need to be looking at the target. They need to see the target wherever the target is. So there were a couple of balls that Mark hit to me where I had to do this. So I was one to pass to Kate right there, and I had to face the ball and angle my platform this way. It's the same principle. So that concept is super important, and it's one that we're going to emphasize and work with them on for a long time. Continually. I wrote at the top of the board, and I neglected to mention at the beginning, simple is a principle that we have for all of our skills and all of our systems and everything we do. Simple is better than complex. Simple promotes creativity. Simple enables athletes to master skills faster. If their movements are simple, then it will take them much less time to master it. If things are complex, if they're bending their arms, if they're using their legs, if they're swiveling their hips, it just takes longer to get good at that thing. If things are simple, they will get better at it faster. It applies to all the skills. Okay? So, face ball, angle platform. Yes, right.
Do you correct their footwork when they're passing the ball?
Yep, we're going to talk about that next. Yes, we're going to talk about footwork. And that is important also. So when we want our athletes to move, we want them to shuffle. So I'm just going to move you right and left a little bit, okay? We want them to shuffle, just like that. Okay, I know Canadians are really good at math. How many steps does she take to move?
2 or 3.
Ready? Three. Good. 3. And I'm going to move you forward. 6. Try it again. Ready? Good. I want you to get there in 3 steps, just like you were. I want you to go 1, 2, 3, like that. Okay? Good. Now, of course, there are times, ready, with this ball, when you're going to take more than 3 steps. Then you pay a good sport about that. Where you're going to take more than 3 steps, but 3 steps are going to get you there almost all the time. This is Kayla Banworth. No, it's not. It's nobody.
While it's getting ready,
Yes.
sorry.
Go ahead and ask.
How do you, I have a tremendous time when I get my kids to stay down.
Stay down.
They all want to stand legs perfectly straight, like
Right.
almost like
So
ballerinas.
that's good. I'm glad you mentioned that. Part of shuffle is that, okay, put your hands on your knees like this. This is a good starting position for passing. If your kids just have their hands on their knees, right, like this, and then just drop your platform and sit up just a little bit. That's kind of how we want them to stand. Even on defense, that's really close. Sometimes they might be a little more here on defense if they're farther away. Mark talked about that. If they're closer, if they're digging down the line, they should be up a little more because balls are more likely to come up here. But if they're far away, it's over there, we want them down a little bit where the balls are more likely to land out there. But basically, that's how we want them to stand. And so from that position, we want them to shuffle and stay in that position. So here's my starting position. We want them doing this and not this, and then down. And so you just have to drill them. I mean, you have to drill them. And you have to show them video of themselves standing straight up. And you have to prove to them, you have to connect the dots, that their standing up is hurting their performance. That they're not able to pass as well because of that. So if you can catch them on video where, hey, you're standing like this, then all of a sudden you had to move, and you couldn't move very well because you're standing straight up, that will help them. But that's one of the challenges. Okay, come watch this. This is Kayla Banworth. She was our libero in Rio. How many steps did she take? She took 3 steps. Is her platform straight and simple? Overall, would you say that her movement is simple? Very simple. She has a uniquely very upright stance. She really stands very upright, which I'm fine with, but I'm also okay with being a little more like this. That's okay. Here's another passer from our national team. This is Natalie Haglund. She was the backup libero. She was the one that didn't get to go to Rio because of the girl we just watched. So here she is going to her left. How many steps did she take? She took 3 steps. Simple or complex, her movement? Watch how she holds her finish after she passes. That almost should be a key. We talk about that all the way. All the time. We talked about it with setting. You know, extend and hold, how important that is. Same thing with passing. We want our passers to hold their finish, okay? So hold your platform as you pass. Now, Kate, instead of leaning over your leg like that, I want you to get to a point where you're really balanced and strong, because that's not a really balanced position. So get your feet there. And I want you to be balanced. Good. You're more balanced on your left, probably because you're right leg dominant, and so you feel okay doing this. But I don't want all of your weight on your right leg. I want you to be balanced like this. Okay? That's better. Balanced and strong is something that I'll say a lot too to our parents. I want you to be balanced and strong. There are a lot of different ways to be balanced and strong. This is balanced and strong if a ball's short. That's much more balanced and strong than this is. A lot of your kids will do this if it's going to be short in front of them. They'll do that. That's a bad position to be in to pass because it's unbalanced. And therefore, you can't really focus your energy on your platform, and the platform's the only thing that really ultimately matters, is the platform. This can be balanced and strong. Let's watch another video. So anyway, hold the finish. That should be a habit that your pastors have. Hold your finish. It really helps them set a good angle and demonstrate that they're balanced and strong. If they're not balanced, they won't be able to hold it because they'll be falling over, which sometimes is inevitable. If I make Kate pass this ball, she can't stop before she passes that. But ideally, we want them stopped before they pass the ball. When it's time to pass, quiet everything down and use your platform. Okay, Kate does that really well. So, hold your finish. Here's another video. This is Kayla Banworth again. Is that balanced and strong? No. Why did she do that? That's the first question. Why did she do this to pass that ball? Let's watch it again. Why did she lift her leg up?
Because he was coming very fast. She couldn't.
It was coming fast, but that's not why she had to lift her leg up. There's another reason why she had to lift her leg up. So it was higher. It was higher, and so she had to accommodate her platform. If the ball goes up there, you've got to do something to get your platform behind the ball. And if it's coming fast, like Daryl said, if it's coming fast, you don't have time to turn and do this, which would be ideal. I'm going to toss the ball, so it's safe. I'm going to toss the ball back behind you there, kind of high like that. I just want you to turn and pass it to me. Okay? So that skill is really important too, really good. Claudia did that yesterday a couple times really well, where Mark was hitting balls at her or something, and she turned like this and passed this way. Is she facing the ball? She's facing where the ball's going to be. She's facing the ball, and she's angling her platform. That's, what is that? That's number 3. And that's what Kate just did. She faced the ball and angled her platform to me. Did she do a good job of getting the ball to the target? Super easy. And so, if it goes faster though, and it's kind of high, she's not getting her platform on the ball very well there. So I want you to do this. If it's off to the side, you can't do that though. If it's off to the side, you can't do it. I want you to do this. I want you to just get your platform up where it needs to be, and that means you're going to have to lift your leg up a little bit. It's extremely common for pastors to do that. So because she has to do that to pass that ball, it's a balanced and strong position because her weight is on the ball of her foot. It's not on her heels. A common mistake that players make is being on their heels. That's something else you need to watch for. If they're doing this and then stepping backwards, they're not balanced. Their weight's on their heels. Anyone standing on their heels, stand on your heels. You don't have to have your toes up, but just put your weight on your heels. It's not a strong position. Now put the weight on the balls of your feet. That's a strong position. And this position too, we do not want our heels off the ground. That is also not natural and not good. Put your heels off the ground and stay there for the rest of the session. You can't. It's uncomfortable. You're using tons of energy to balance if your heels are off the ground. Even on defense, you do not want their heels off the ground. I'm telling you that. Someone else might tell you differently. You want their heels on the ground. I don't care what position they're in, but their weight is going through the ball, so that's balanced right there. If you watch a tennis player, on serve receive, they're here, like this. And a shortstop, as soon as the ball's being hit, they're loaded in here like this. So we like that position. Family pictures. All right. There's Kayla Banworth passing again. She balanced and strong, holding her finish really well. It's a habit. It's a habit. She holds her finish when she passes. This is Megan Easy, formerly Megan Hodge, Penn State. Why did her left leg come off the ground? We already answered that question, right? She was ready to pass, and then all of a sudden it was high. And she knows that the one thing that matters is her platform. It's the only thing that matters. And so she just knows, I'm not sure she was ever taught that, but she knows my platform needs to get here, and if I don't lift my leg, the ball's going to go that way. And I want it going that way. So I've got to accommodate my platform. My platform's my priority. Any questions about that? This is Kim Hill and Tama right there, the other Libero passing. And Kelsey Robinson. How many steps did the Libero take to pass this ball? How many steps did she take? She took 3. Why is she landing on her butt is the next question. Why is she landing on her butt? And so she also knows she has to get her platform in a certain position. Her platform's going to tell the ball where to go. So she makes this move, 1, 2, 3, but the ball's still kind of far away, and she has to angle her platform. What your kids will do is this, 1, 2, 3, and they will turn this way. And where's that ball going to go? It's going to go that way, because their platform tells it to go that way. Because it's going to bounce off my flat platform, it's going to go that way. She knows that her platform is going to tell the ball where to go. So she holds that position right there. She stops moving her feet, because her feet are not going to pass the ball. She's going to put all her energy into her platform, all of her focus. She's going to pass that ball, and she's going to hold her finish, and she's going to end up on her butt. It's not because anyone taught her, this is how we want you to do this. She just knows that her platform is the priority. So 1, 2, 3. She lines up the angle early, and she holds her finish, and that's just how she falls.
So in a case like that, you wouldn't advocate taking a different angle to cut the ball off earlier? Or
No.
It would be too high for her?
I don't think she could. I think it's coming too fast. It's hard to see it so much because it's in slow motion. But she saw the line early, the line of the serve. She tracked it with her platform early, and she made that pass. And that's all she could do.
Yeah.
I mean, she could do other things, but it wouldn't be as efficient. She could turn, like we said, and do this, and that would not be a good angle.
But you take that over some different maneuver because you're prioritizing platform.
Yes. What we'll often see, and what some coaches teach, is a run-through. And a lot of your passers, a lot of other passers, instead of stopping, they will keep moving like this. That is making a difficult skill more difficult. If I'm trying to line my platform up on this ball, and my body's moving at the same time, and the ball's moving, it's more complicated. It's harder. If I quiet my body down, I can put all of my focus on my platform, which is the only thing that really matters. Okay? So she could have done this, 1, 2, 3, and then tried to keep herself from hitting the ground, but that would have compromised her angle. So she just stuck with her angle. Right.
You mentioned about fighting the ball. We coach young kids. How do you tell them, or what type of cues do you tell them? Pick up the ball early. Some of them, especially it's a hard-driven ball or a free ball, they're reacting to the ball on the down part of it.
Yeah.
And it's too late, and they'll be sliding away from their feet.
We just say, see the ball off the server's hand. And that could be a key too. I know some people use that as a key. See the server, see the ball. You're looking at the server and you see it off of her hand. You're tracking it immediately. Yeah, so I don't think there's any magic to that. You just got to put an emphasis on, what did you see? Did you notice that she was facing over there? Did you notice that her hand started to turn or whatever it is? Did you notice right off of her hand that the ball started to spin? Or that it didn't spin, that it had no spin? So that's a very good point, something you have to address, and I think you just talk about seeing it right off the server's hand. Okay?
Rob, in your experience, is flexibility of the athlete, does that make a big difference?
I don't think so.
Nope.
I think the more flexible you are, the better it is in general. But no, I don't think it has a big impact on what they're doing. I don't think flexibility is much of a factor in this as just technique. Maybe, though, Willem, you might have an athlete that is extremely inflexible, and so you really need to work on that. But in general, no, we don't address it. That's something you would address with an athlete. It's like, wow, you really have a hard time doing this for whatever reason. We need you to become more flexible. We need to loosen you up a little bit. Any other questions about passing? Because we need to move on to spiking here. Here's Kim Hill. So she took more steps than we would like, but still, ultimately she knows that it's her platform that's going to tell the ball to go where it's supposed to go. That's why she makes this move. That's why she does what she does. She's set up, and now she sees that it's going high, and that she needs to accommodate that. So she gets her platform in a position where it tells the ball to go to the right spot. Now, another thing that my players do sometimes is they go to pass, and then they make contact, and then they finish this way, and that's a problem. That means they're late. If they're finishing spinning like this, it means they didn't get there in time. So there may be, like we saw Tama track that ball to her left, and she started tracking it with her platform. I will say to my passers sometimes, lead with your platform. Your platform needs to start tracking that ball before anything else. But what our athletes do a lot is they just leave their platform here, and then at the last second they go to pass, then they make contact, and then they're over here, and the ball's maybe that way or whatever way, because they're not finishing in the plane of their angle. We want them ideally to finish in the plane of their angle, and Kim does a pretty good job of that here. Her arms don't go swinging up like this after she contacts. She lines it up early enough that she can finish and hold her finish in that same angle. Okay? Any other questions about passing, serve, receive, passing? We all know that passing is critical. You need tons of passing reps. Make them as game-like as possible. Warm up for Kate. On my team, warm up is passing for passers. They're not doing anything else. That's not true. They'll come in and do some band work for their glute meads, to strengthen those, and band work with their shoulders. They'll do some of those things before practice starts. As soon as practice starts, warm up for passers is passing. But it's us tossing a ball to them because they're not warm enough to dive. So we don't want to put them in a situation where they have to dive. Because of course, if they have to dive, they have to dive. That's a rule on your team. You don't ever watch a ball hit the ground. So if they're not warm, we're not going to put them in that situation where they have to make that decision. God, I'm not going to dive because I'm not warm. We want their mentality always to be, if I have to dive, I have to dive. So we'll line them up out there, 3 on each side, or however many you've got, and we'll just toss balls to them, and that's their warm-up. What's a dynamic, what do we call it? Dynamic stretch or dynamic warm-up? What is that? It's a thing, right? What is it? What does it mean to do a dynamic warm-up or a dynamic stretch?
Stretching while moving.
Okay, so like these kinds of things, right? And other, different movements. Yeah, those kinds of things. So some of my players say, hey, I'd like to do that. And I say, okay, great, let's do it. Stand out there and pass. And I'll move you around a little bit. This is a dynamic warm-up right there. They don't need to be warmed to do that. And so we will do that with them. None of us have as much time as we'd like with our kids in the gym. So we don't want to spend time doing things that are not making them better at volleyball. We've got to be creative and figure out ways to get them warm and improve their skill. Because ultimately, the team that's going to win is the team that serves and passes and sets better and spikes better. Not the team that's more flexible or has a better warm-up or is stronger or has a better cardiovascular base. That's not the team that's going to win. If you've got a team that's extremely fit and a team that's kind of soft, but their skills are really good, this team's going to win in volleyball. That's the nature of our game. It is a skill-based game. If you make them play 7 matches in a day, maybe this team at the end is going to be worn out. This team's going to be better, but still, it's all about skill. And our kids, you know, we can figure out ways to get them in shape, and they need to be in shape, and they need to be strong, they need to be flexible, they need to be fit as much as possible, but not at the expense of skill. Not at the expense of skill work. So if you're running sprints or something in practice, you know, maybe there's a place for that in certain situations, but if you're doing some kind of conditioning and you could be practicing skills, practice skills. Condition them playing volleyball. Find a drill that's really hard, but that has them playing volleyball, okay? And so the same thing goes for warm-up. Warm them up doing volleyball-like things. So, how's your arm? Is it pretty warm? It's not that warm.
It's not super warm.
All right, you go on that side of the net. I'm going to be on this side of the net. Actually, Mark or Kevin or someone, you want to come out here and warm up with me? Stand just maybe right on this side there and just serve some floaters. Just serve over the net. How's that? Do we need to hold it here? That was okay? All right, stand here and serve. So what you're telling me is you're warm enough to do that? It's okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So right now, Kate is warming her arm, and both these guys are good floaters. Mark's got a solid floater going. Kate is warming up her arm, and she's getting better at serving at the same time. Okay? And so this is such a better arm warm-up than this. That does nothing for my volleyball skill. Or this one. I love this one. You're warming up like this. Mark and I are warming up, and I came around like this. In case I decide to do a reverse dunk in the match, I'm warm for that one. I've warmed up my arm that way. Just have them serve to warm up, and as they get more and more warm, they can start moving back. They can stay as close as they want, as long as they want. But as they get more warm, they'll move back. They breathe in, go behind the service line, Kate. Mark behind the service line. Actually, Mark, you're going to come up here. Serve a short ball inside the 10-foot line. That's a nice, easy movement. And your kids need to be better at serving short. All of our players need to be better at that. So they can practice this really important skill and warm up their arm at the same time. So, spiking. All right, you're totally warm now, Kate, right? In the interest of time, you are totally warm. Come on over here. We're going to do some spiking now. So we're going to start with a 4-step approach. So I'm going to just toss an easy ball for you. We might use you here. You want to get out there? You're not set yet, right? Okay. You were doing a 4-step approach yesterday. Are you comfortable with the 4-step approach?
Yeah.
Do you usually do that, or sometimes 3, or what do you usually do? Transition, it might be different. That's good. All right, here we go. 4-step approach, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. You don't have to take very hard there, because I know your shoulders are really warm. Okay, 4 steps. But I want you to start with your right foot forward. And your first step, you're just going to walk. You're going to walk, walk, and then you're going to go. Got it? Walk, walk. Coaches, let's give some feedback here. Is she taking a 4-step? Is she stepping with that first foot? Ready? is tiny. You know, I think that's where the Chinese proverb came from. The journey of 1,000 miles or whatever starts with one step. The greatest spike in the world starts with this little step right here. The most powerful spikers in the world start like that. Not with some big explosive step. It's walk, 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 and then explode. In fact, if they start too fast, then they will be early and lose some explosiveness. We want them to walk, 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 and then very good. Okay? So, 4-step approach. A lot of kids and a lot of coaches teach 3 steps. Some of you probably do. And I get a lot of kids at our camp, whatever. Well, I like a 3-step. And you know what I say to that? I say, so do I. I love it. And I want you to do your 3-step approach. Just do me a little favor, please, and do that first. Okay? Then do your 3-step. I think it's awesome. Okay? But just do me a favor and do that, and then do 1, 2, 3, and we'll all be good. And so it's really not a hard thing. You know, some kids kind of get freaked out. It's like, I do a 3-step. Great. This is not a really complicated, again, this is the very beginning of a motor program, so it's really simple. I just want this 1 right there. The ball's in the setter's hands, perhaps, if that's the tempo we're going at. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? And so the little arrow there just means it goes from slow to fast and small to big and tall to small, too. Would go the other direction, but we want our hitters here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And a lot of athletes, especially females for some reason, don't get that as much. And they maintain the same posture the whole time. And they're not getting this as much. And they really need to. Okay? Hit on the right side over here. Same thing. Right? So good 4-step approach, slow, fast. The next key on the board is big arms. Okay, so what does big arms mean to you? Before that, yes, you got to be way back here like this, okay? So our focus right now is on big arms. We're teaching an athlete big arms. That's all we're going to focus on. I want you to keep with the 4-step, but we're really going to focus on your arms. And so we need to give them the green light. It's like, I don't care about the result right now. I really don't. The only thing I want to see is big arms from you, okay? Can they be bigger? Get them up there, okay? I want them really up there. Almost universally, good, proficient spikers have really big arms. And not all of our athletes do. And it's really important. We've got to get them to get their arms back. What I'll ask kids in camp, I say, hey, raise your hand if you want to jump higher. Everyone, including me, is raising their hand. It's a law of physics or biomechanics or something. If your arms come back here like this, and you throw them up in the air, which actually that's not, we want them to throw them up like this. But if your arms come way back here and you use them to throw you will jump higher. It's magic, I know, but it's true because you're canceling out the weight of your arms. That's why we want them doing that and not just this, because now they've got to lift their arms also. But if they're throwing their arms up, then all of a sudden their arms aren't in the equation, and they will literally jump higher. And they will feel it too. They will feel it. You ready to get a little more? And I want you to take your first step, and then I'm going to toss the ball. Okay? Go. Good. Thanks, Ray. Big arms. Go. Now toss. How are her arms there? Watch her arms, coaches, and give us some feedback. Not bad. They could be bigger. They could be bigger. Okay, and we want them right back in, not out to the side as much, just right by you. It's like if you were wearing warm-up pants, we're going to do that like swish, swish. Okay, we want them going right there. we're pushing Kate out of her comfort zone, which is necessary to make changes. They have to go through this discomfort in order to change something. Kate's hit thousands, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of balls, and she has this motor program that's already wired in her brain, and so getting her to do something different is uncomfortable. It's not the same. So her performance, the outcome might decline a little bit. She might not be as good a spiker because she's so focused on doing something she's not comfortable doing. But ultimately, you will be a better spiker if your arms are bigger. Okay, so that big arms is really important. Take a break. Thanks, Mark. I'm going to show you a video. I took this just the other day in that same practice that I was talking about with one of our athletes, because she's been having some problems attacking where she's not on time as much as we would like her to be. I'm not sure. This might be it. No, that's looking at the center. Here we go. So I filmed her. I got my phone out and I just filmed her. And we're working on her arms and being on time. What do you see here that might be a problem?
On her, when she went out to transition to go on the outside, I noticed her hands were way down here,
Okay.
as opposed to relaxed hands already up here, ready to move forward with the attack.
Okay. What else did you see?
Seems like she's
John?
standing up quite a bit.
Standing up with it?
Yeah, she's a little bit upright. Looks like.
Yeah. Kevin?
But she's jumping, her left arm is kind of staying here.
Okay. It didn't get up very high up here. Okay, good. Anything else? So we're talking about her arms being late. She's kind of late sometimes. Like she has a problem where she'll be hitting the ball here oftentimes.
My legs swung back evenly.
They didn't go back evenly? This is a game of what is he thinking? You're trying to read my mind. What we identified was this, and I promise you, you have athletes doing this, especially younger kids, is that before her arms go back, so she's in this position right here, and here's 1, 2, she's about to go to her second step, and look at her arms right there. And that was her problem. Because as she's preparing to put her arms back, her arms are going in the opposite direction. And then she's not able to get as big a backswing. Willem noticed that her arms are not even going back because she was doing this before. And a lot of your athletes do that. They do 1, 2, they usually kind of put them up like this. 1, 2, 3, and then they go back, and they don't go back far enough. Or if they try to go back far enough, they're late. Because we always emphasize with our hitters, you need big arms. So she's trying to do big arms, but she doesn't have time because she's wasted a split second doing this. And so we had her eliminate that, and I should have kept filming her, but I just talked to her about it and then watched her, and her eyes lit up. She's a freshman. She's really athletic. She's really got a lot of potential. And she just, she said, it feels so much better. I'm on time, my arms are up bigger and everything else. So it's really a good learning moment for her.
Looks like her second step, too, is big.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm okay with that second step. That's fine. But we want the second step smaller than the third, for sure. We want them to get bigger and faster. So these are things we need to pay attention to, okay? All of these things are going to help them be really good spikers. So the third is the load of the arm, okay? Loading your arm to hit. And I put separate because you need to separate early. That's something that Mark teaches really well. Okay, you ready? Okay. After big arms, come on up, you're going to do this spike right there. After big arms, we want her to go from this position to this position where her left elbow, this arm should be straight, that's not very natural, but that left elbow is really up there high, and this arm comes here. We don't want this. That's not correct. That will slow them down. We want them getting this arm loaded early. So the separate part is they're together and then they separate early, not late, but early, okay? Big arms, separate early. Here we go. Thank you, Ray. So this would be good too. What we could do if we have an athlete that's struggling with this is put them on a box and have them just do this. I'm okay with that. I'm not a huge fan of doing things off the box, but there is definitely a place for them. And that could be one of them, where she can get some reps separating her arms early without the wear and tear of jumping every time. So we can just get her a bunch of reps, put her on a box and just toss the ball and have her do this. And we'll put her arms here and hit it. Okay? So Kate does a good job of it. You can load even a little bit more, a little bit earlier. Okay? So do that. Don't worry about the result too much. Get that arm loaded. Okay? So that's key number 3 there, is load, separate early. There's some other things we could put in there associated with that, like torque. It's really important that those last 2 steps of the 4-step create some torque. So they're like this, so that she's here in this position, so that this torque can help provide power for her when she's swinging. Can you toss it for her? Yep. Just toss it that side off there. Good. She's got really good feet there at the end. 1, 2, 3, 4, and she's up here like this. Are you more comfortable hitting on the right or on the left? Usually the left. How many of you are more comfortable? Is everyone a right-hander? How many of you are more comfortable hitting on the left? Some of you are more comfortable on the right. Maybe some of you aren't sure. Most are more comfortable on the left. Why is that? There's a reason. This is, again, trying to read my mind. It's because when we do warm-up hitting, where do we always hit? Almost all the time. Like, hey, let's go hit. There's a long line over there. And when we teach spiking, like I did at the beginning, I faced that way. All we need to do is give them reps on the right. We don't need to talk about, hey, the ball's coming from your left, you need to wait longer, you need to turn this way. None of that is true. They just need reps hitting on the right. Really advanced players, even beyond collegiate international players that are opposites, or beach players who play on the right, they're better on the right than on the left. It doesn't matter if they're right or left-handed. Because when she gets to this point here, the ball's not over there anymore. The ball's up here somewhere. So she can be here like this and then attack that ball, just like we saw her do. You don't need to open, people will say, well, it's harder because you're not open to the ball. You don't need to be open to the ball. When it's being set, I'm here, and then when I'm going to hit, it's here in front of me, and I can go hit it. So that torque is important no matter where you're hitting from. And when we're teaching spiking, we need to give them reps right away where a ball is being tossed or set from their left to their right. And they'll learn it on their own. You don't need to talk about anything differently. Just these keys right here. And then high and hard, we want them contacting so we want Kate contacting the ball at her highest point. She needs to go get the ball. And hard, of course, we want her to go up and take a good rip at it. So let's watch her again. Nice 4-step approach, big arms, and go up and get it, the highest point we can. Good job. It's a really, I like that. How good is that swing? That's a point-scoring swing. That's a really good swing. Deep to the corner, high. If the block touches that, it's not going to be a stuff. We're probably either going to cover it or it's going to go over on their side because she wasn't hitting it low. She was hitting it high and hard and deep. And that's, percentages say that spike is going to win lots of points. Because if they get a piece of the block, a high piece of the block, good things are going to happen for the attacker. You're going to get a lot of kills off of a tool, off the block. So high and hard is my last key that I have up there. Questions about spiking? Yeah, good. Let's talk about that. Different adjustments. We want our middles taking a four-step approach, but it is a little bit different. So if I'm in rotation 1, let's say as a middle, and I'm going to hit a front quick, I'm going to do something like this. 1, 2, 3, and this is my first step now in my four-step approach. So we could actually count it like this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it is different. Yeah, it is different. But we like to count that as our first step. That footwork sequence right there is really common for middles. 3 off and 3 on. I block over here, and I go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. If I'm in the middle, no matter where the ball goes, even if it goes over there, I turn and I go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Or 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? And then the timing of that is going to depend on what you know, if you want to learn a third step set or whatever. It is a little bit different. And then, of course, there's some other footwork patterns that we can work on here. Kate's not a middle, but we're going to make you do some middle stuff, okay? Have you ever hit a slide? A back slide? Okay, it's good. Can you set, Mark? Can you set? Well, that was a stupid question. Mark can do it all. All right. I'm going to talk about Mark. Just go hit one and we'll watch. Okay? That was a pretty good set. That's a good set. All right. So set it a little higher. Yep. There we go. Okay, so getting her into this position, she might have to start from over here and get in this position. She might have to transition from there and get in this position. Or she might be over here in rotation 4. The setter's in zone 4, right? Very in her middle here. And then she's going to do kind of a turn 1, 2, 3, shuffle. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just like that to hit. But the most critical parts of that approach, of course, are the last 3 steps. So we may say that we want her on her, once you're on your left foot, right here, it's going to be pretty easy with him. I want you on this step right here with the ball's in his hands. So you have 2 steps to go. So the ball's in his hands, then you do 1, 2, go ahead. Let's try that. And then go again. That's right, you were just a little bit early, right? He's going to set it, kind of. Yep. Good. So that's a certain tempo. We call it a second step set, maybe of 4 steps. And so now we're going to speed it up. We're going to have you go to your second to last step. So when the ball's in his hands, your right foot's going to be here. And you're going to set it faster. You're going to take that last step. Okay? All right, here we go. If you're going to pause a little bit, you're going to pause on that step, or this step, or that, one of these last steps, and then your final step is going to be really fast. Okay? So pause early. Go. Very good. Kate's the one who can do it all. So that's a faster set. That's a second to last step set. There are teams that run a 4th step pin or slide or whatever you call it. What do you call it in this country? A what? Step out? Step. Okay. So there are teams that run really fast, where the hitter's here, the setter just fires it back there. That's your choice, however you want to do it. But that's kind of the footwork there for that. Hey, if you're blocking here, Mark blocking the right. Hey, blocking the middle here. Okay, Michelle, this is down the so watch. You're going to do this. When you're in the block, you're going to do this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so let's show you that without a ball. You're going to do a little circle there. Good jump. Open to the court, open the other way. You're always going to open to your left. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Do it one more time without a ball. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. You ready to hit one now? Yeah. So jump. Right there is a blocker. And when you turn, what you're looking for is the dig. You're looking to see who's digging, how high it is, where is it going. So you watch that, and then you get ready to dig. Okay, go. Okay, so that's the footwork there. If my setter's front row, that's kind of what we want our middle to do, right? Why in women's volleyball do we like to run steps, and in men's volleyball they don't do it very often? Why do men not run that slide very much? What else do they have to attack on the right side?
T-ball.
They have a back row attacker who's really effective. So in women's volleyball, we compensate, we balance the offense by running lots of slides when the setter's front row. In men's volleyball, they don't need that because this guy can, hit here and be really effective. So that's why we run lots of steps in women's volleyball. So when the setter's front row, that's something we would like our middle to do. Okay? Let's do one other thing that I think is important. So pass back here, you're going to be front row passer right there. And Ray, you stand in the middle there. You're going to be the libero right next to her. And if you pass this, come right up right next to her, like even with her. There we go. If you pass this, Kate, I want you to take 3 steps. I want you to pass and do this. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Let's try that right now. Pass through the step shuffle. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. So that's one of our options. When she passes, she's going to do a 3-step shuffle. You have another option, Kate, and that is if you pass kind of a short ball, or you have to go to your right, to go straight into a 4-step approach. From there. You're going to go from there, right? Your target's right here. You're going to get out here. So you're going to pass this ball. And this, you're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. You're right there to get. Let's try it. Good. Good. So you would do that if she's in a position where she can't really get outside and you're running a fast offense. Then she doesn't have time to shuffle out. She just needs to go. Maybe she doesn't even have time. You're doing such a fast offense. She doesn't have time from there. And she doesn't need to. She's just going to pass, set her a go. You're going to run a go. It's a 2nd step set, okay? She's going to pass and go. Go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Now, the other situation is if you don't pass, as soon as you know you're not passing, you're going to communicate with the passer, and you're going to shuffle out 5 steps, starting with your left. Show me a 5-step shuffle out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So if she doesn't pass, we really want her to get out there because that's optimal for her to be coming in from that angle. So you're going to start right about here. Your shuffle is going to take you diagonal here, so you're not too far away from your target. And it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? All right, you might pass this. You might not. Ready? Go. Good. That was great. Let's do it again. Ready? Go. Come on the right side here, okay, and pass in zone 1. This would be like rotation 1, right? Your setter's coming from back there, but we're not going to make Mark do all that work. So get in there. You're a passer. You need to get in there. Okay? Now, on the right side for a right-hander, it's different. The footwork's different. On the left side, it's an odd number always for a right-hander. It's always 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. On this side, you're going to do an even number. Okay, so you're just going to do 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to do a 2-step shuffle, and then you're going to go there. 1, 2, 1, 2. Very good. Jeff, Kate's awesome. All right, here we go. If you don't pass, you're going to do the same thing. You could, I like my hitters to get outside even on the right side, but let's just do a 2-step shuffle, okay? If you don't pass, same thing. Get out there. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. Now I want you to just try try something. Maybe you're comfortable with this anyway. I want you to get outside and hit starting from out there, okay? So you do a 4-step. Go. 1, 2, 3, 4. I want you to do a 4-step, and I want you to count your steps. I don't care about the result right now. I want you to think. You're here, and I want you to do 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Go 1, 2. Now pause. Go. Good. Okay. I really like this outside-in approach. A lot of us have taught forever, and some of us still do, and it's okay. If you're right-handed, you can just go straight down the line. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is our target area. But if your hitters have this shot, they have that kind of wrist away, thumb down shot, this is going to be really effective and very hard to defend. Where they're coming in this way, and they can line up power and just turn the ball like that. So it kind of depends a little bit on the hitter, but I really like it. I've taught most of my right side hitters and outsides to go outside in. But going straight down the line is fine too. Your final 2 steps are kind of just going to be right foot on the sideline and left foot here, and then a contact here. And on that sideline, to the outside, we want her toes on the line. Last 2 steps have her toes on the line. She jumps and hits in this target area and finishes on this side. Ideally, that's what happens if she's going outside in. Okay? Questions? Anything about spiking? Fundamentals, like I said, Reese and Percy with your teams, you're going to go over this stuff and get a really good fundamentals. And those of us who are coaching high level, same thing. They really have to be good at these fundamentals. They've got to just have them down for passing and spiking. Any questions about anything that we've discussed this morning? Kate, thank you very much. You were awesome. Have a big hand for Kate. Mark, you were okay. Great, good job.